Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot has announced that they will be making a number of Assassin's Creed remakes. Not only that, but he says they will be modernizing them, raising a massive red flag as to what that actually will entail. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com. And this is what he was asked during an interview posted to Ubisoft's website. He was asked this: on the Assassin's Creed front, we've had Mirage, which was a leaner homage to the series' roots, and now Shadows, which is much larger in scope and more in the vein of Odyssey Valhalla. Looking at the future, can we expect this continued variety, smaller games alongside bigger ones? And this is how he responded. Firstly, players can be excited about some remakes, which will allow us to revisit some of the games we've created in the past and modernize them. There are worlds in some of our older Assassin's Creed games that are still extremely rich. So that is what he had to say about the remakes, modernizing them. And then he went on to say this: secondly, to answer your question, there will be plenty of experience variety. The goal is to have Assassin's Creed games come out more regularly, but not for it to be the same experience every year. There are a lot of good things to come, including Assassin's Creed Hexe, which we've announced, which is going to be a very different game from Assassin's Creed Shadows. We're going to surprise people, I think. So let's talk about this Hexe game first. It was announced back in 2022 during an Ubisoft Forward. They released a brief teaser trailer that showed the Assassin's symbol made out of a bunch of branches hanging in a dark, gloomy, creepy, and grim forest. If you want to watch that brief little trailer, you can watch it here as part of this Ubisoft Forward. I'll have the link in the description below. We also had Ubisoft's Mark Alexis Cote informed VGC back in 2022 about the game. He says Hexe will provide a different experience in terms of game and game structure that will eventually come out as we reveal more. Based on the trailer, it appears it will have a horror vibe. And then there is a rumor from Bloomberg that says the game is, quote, set during the latter stages of the Holy Roman Empire and revolves around witch trials. We do know that the game is being developed by Ubisoft Montreal with Clinton Hawking as the creative director. And based on kind of what Guillemot is saying here, I think it sounds like they're going to be following in the footsteps of Atlas, because Atlas found massive success with Persona 5 and then has spun off a number of titles from that main Persona 5 game. We had specifically Persona 5 Strikers and Persona 5 Tactica. Obviously, there's Persona 5 Royal too, which was kind of just like a deluxe version of Persona 5 with some additional content. But obviously, Strikers is a completely different genre than the typical JRPG that Persona 5 is. Strikers is more of a Musu game genre game, similar to games like Dynasty Warriors. And then Tactica was more of a strategy role-playing game in the vein of Final Fantasy Tactics. So I could see them doing something like that, jumping into different genres. And it looks like Hexe is going to try and lean into like an Assassin's Creed horror style genre. But let's talk about the real big elephant in the room. The fact that he says he's going to be modernizing a number of the older Assassin's Creed games via remakes. And this is a huge red flag because Ubisoft is one of the wokest video game developers out there. The company has an entire section of their website titled Diversity, Inclusion, and Accessibility. Underneath this section, the company's VP of Global Diversity and Inclusion, Rashi Sika, wrote this: to create a video game, Ubisoft's teams around the world work together to push the boundaries of what's been done before and build an unforgettable experience for players. The journey from concept to launch requires collaboration, passion, and commitment. We learn as we go, trying and failing and trying again before we get it right. Nothing wrong with that there. That sounds all great and dandy. But Sika continues saying that same creativity, growth, mindset, and dedication form the foundation of our approach to diversity and inclusion. To truly have an impact, we must leverage innovative ideas and diverse perspectives to continue building a company and an industry that is welcoming to all. Well, when you are pushing diversity and inclusion, you aren't being welcome to all. It's just absolutely not true. We know that diversity in many cases, actually means being racist towards white people. It is literally being anti-white. We have posts from an Ubisoft community manager named Shauna Jones, who literally uses diversity in that way. It's all about being anti-white and removing white characters. And that is exactly how she used it in a number of tweets. I literally just did a video about this yesterday, focused around her posts. So it is not about being welcoming to all. And then you can also get into all of the sexual identities or sexual orientations, gender identities, etc., that are condemned by numerous religions that are followed by billions of people. So you cannot tell me that focusing your company on diversity and inclusion is welcoming to all. That is a giant lie. No, what you're trying to do is you're trying to propagandize people into buying into the ideology that you believe in, which is this diversity and inclusion ideology. You are spreading your own religion. That's what this stuff is. Sika goes on and says, our vision of diversity and inclusion is multidimensional. That's why we've designed a strategy centered around 4 pillars: colleagues, culture, content, and community. For Ubisoft, putting diversity and inclusion at the heart of everything we do means providing an environment where employees can thrive. There you go. It is at the heart of everything they do. Huge, huge red flag for this Assassin's Creed, for these Assassin's Creed remakes, that they're going to modernize them. They're going to modernize them with diversity and inclusion because it's the heart of everything they do. These games are dead on arrival. Dead on arrival. It is at the heart of everything we do, means providing an environment where employees can thrive, building open-minded communities where players can connect. There you go. They are literally trying to spread the propaganda. They are saying they want to do that. Open-minded communities. Well, what does that mean? That means if you don't actually believe in this stuff, then you're not open-minded, which means you're not really welcome. It's not really welcoming to all, is it? Right? I mean, you really can't even get from one paragraph to the other. We got a huge lie right there, right? And creating games that reflect the diversity of the world we live in. We will not accomplish all these goals overnight, just as it takes years of iteration to develop a AAA title. We will only become a more diverse and inclusive company by continuously improving, trying new ideas, and learning from the results. Is a long-term commitment, one that we will tackle with the same passion and dedication that we bring to our games. Ubisoft might not be around in the long term. We will see. I think they are up in for a very, very rocky road this year. I think that they're going to have a number of big failures. I think Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to be a massive disappointment. And I also think that they're going to struggle with Star Wars Outlaws as well. So if you actually go and look at these sections here, the colleagues and the culture sections that Sika says are part of their 4 pillars, well, they don't look like they're welcoming to all, because look what it says here. This is what the colleagues section says. In my opinion, it looks like they're hiring people based on race. So that doesn't look like it's very welcoming to all, is it? We want to build the most creative, inclusive, and diverse teams across all fields. We will continue to increase representation in our company by building more inclusion across our systems and ensuring equal access to opportunities for everyone. So again, this is a little bit of a contradiction. How can you be saying that you are building more inclusion, which implies that you are focusing on certain people of a certain race, or at least basing it on sexual orientation, sex, and race, and then say you're ensuring equal access to opportunities for everyone? That just doesn't make any sense. It's a contradiction. You can't have both. You can't be increasing representation or inclusion and then also ensuring equal access to opportunities, because if you're increasing representation, you are likely indeed saying, no, we don't want this person because he looks a certain way, he has a certain he actually does not live disordered lifestyles, etc. We only want these people that are living these disordered lifestyles, that have this certain skin tone, that are from maybe this certain area of the world. And we know this is happening in major companies. Literally just had James O'Keefe have a Disney executive, senior vice president, admit that they are literally hiring people based on their skin tone. It didn't even matter if they were from a certain area. It's like they had to look a certain way in order for them to kind of get brownie points in their meetings. And that is the Walt Disney Company. And they actually have an EEOC complaint filed against them. There's actually a sex discrimination complaint filed against them as well by Gina Carano. So we know that these companies are engaging in unscrupulous practices, and they literally tell us that on their websites, which is what Ubisoft is doing here as well. And if you're doing this on your website, you're saying this, you know that this stuff is in the game as well. We just read that whole mission statement from Sika confirming that they put this stuff in their game. It's at the heart of everything they do. And so then here's also this culture section. It reads this: we will keep fostering a culture of inclusion where our teams feel seen, heard, and valued. To support this, we will empower global and local employee resource groups to support global teams as they develop their understanding of inclusion and strength belonging for all. If you look at their employee resource groups, they are all based on race, based on your sex, and based on disordered lifestyles that you happen to live. So this is exactly what they are doing here. So you know this game is going to be wokeified. These remakes are definitely going to be wokeified. That is what modernized means. There's also this post here, this memo that the quartering shared back in April that basically confirms all of what we just kind of went over. Like the document concludes saying Ubisoft firmly stands for diversity and inclusion in our workplace and our games. We believe there is no room for hate in gaming, except that diversity and inclusion is literally built upon a lie and is built upon hate. So again, it's a contradiction, doesn't even make any sense, whatever. It's just trying to gaslight people to make them think that being for diversity and inclusion is somehow empathetic, when it's the absolute opposite. It is literally like pushing hate, trying to destroy people's lives, and being racist. So I think this is, these games are going to be terrible. They're going to definitely put a bunch of woke crap in them. I just I've done a couple stories on Dungeons and Dragons. There's a executive for them that was talking about one of their old Dungeons and Dragons books that they're basically republishing, or it's like a making of kind of the original Dungeons and Dragons. And it's basically like, yeah, all of our old Dungeons and Dragons stuff would never pass our inclusive standards that we have today. We just could never actually make these types of things. So you know that this is exactly what's going to go through at Ubisoft, because you know that they have all of these inclusion standards and stuff too. So they're going to filter all of these old games that they're going to be remaking through their inclusion standards, and they are going to be making adjustments to them. That is what they're going to be doing when they say modernize. It's not just updating graphics. It's not just updating the game engine. It's not making things more fluid. Sure, they might do some of that, but they are also going to adjust the narratives. They are going to adjust the stories so that it is aligns with their goals, their ideals of being inclusive and diverse, which Sika says is at the heart of everything they do. So I think these games are dead on arrival, but let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, but to always speak the truth.